Alright guys, we're back with more Outer Worlds here. So we're right at the end of the game basically. This guy is an absolute douche nozzle and I don't want to mess with him, so he's gonna get shot in the back of the head and die.
Libations on me, folks.
Sell your shit for beer money.
Ugh, this is so annoying.
They're on us.
Obnoxious.
Ha! Gonna sell your shit for beer money. Heard something? Who's that? Get him! You'll pay for that! Oh, rebel! This is nice. Calm before the storm and all that.
Hope you're right about this, Captain.
Captain, you have an uncanny talent for complicating my life. You've disrupted the balance of power. You've upset the natural order of things. You've introduced uncertainty, and there is nothing I despise more than uncertainty.
It's over, Sophia. Stand down.
I'm afraid I can't do that. I'm aware of your diplomatic talents, Captain. You have a gift for manipulation, but I warn you, I'm no easy mark. For all your talents, you are the enemy of Halcyon, and therefore you are my enemy.
And you're going to do your duty or die trying. I get it. Let's move it along. Have it your way. I'm going to enjoy putting you down.
I have no intention of dying on Tartarus, Captain. Not when there's so much work left to do. I admit I miscalculated the extent of your influence. The board's plan never accounted for you. This is a mistake I intend to correct. I have Dr. Wells in my custody. Once I've secured his cooperation, I can move forward with the program. I can repair the damage you've done. I can set things right.
You don't understand. Phineas is my friend. I'm not leaving without him.
Well, that's mostly correct. You're not leaving here at all. I wish you'd simply cooperated with me. You're the finest marksman in Halcyon. You could have been my gun.
Do your worst, you psychopath.
If you insist. This prison is equipped with an automechanical warden. I've had it programmed to eliminate you on sight and rinse your remains down a drain. And don't worry, I will inform Dr. Wells that you died heroically, or something.
Whatever, lady. There's a droid down there. Okay, let's F5 and get a save.
Incoming!
Barry just got his shield. Holy dick! That was dumb. Okay, it seems like this weapon did the most damage to it.
Here they come!
You lose, I win. Took a lot of bullets though.
Why won't you just...
You don't know how glad I am to see you. You did the right thing. Akande was a monster. Her death was much deserved, and long overdue. And you lunatic, you broke into the board's own fortress just to rescue one doddering old man. You are absolutely out of your mind, and I can't begin to thank you enough.
Are you alright? What did they do to you?
I'm all right, thanks to you. Akande wanted my cooperation. I'm quite sure she would have beaten it out of me if you hadn't arrived. You've broken the board's stranglehold on this colony, and you saved my life. But there's still so much we have yet to accomplish. You and I are going to have to work harder than ever to save Halcyon. I'm afraid the situation is far worse than any of us ever anticipated.
I don't like the sound of that at all.
Earth has gone dark. We haven't received a single message in 3 years. There's been no communication, no signals, nothing. 2 years ago, the Earth's Directorate's frigate disappeared on their way back to Earth. We don't know what they discovered when they arrived, or if they arrived at all.
They haven't exactly been hands-on around here anyway. So there's one less rubber stamp to worry about.
Earth is humanity's home planet, Miss Fenhill. The psychological effects of losing our original home will be devastating.
So we've got to make do on our own. Seems to me that'll make us stronger in the end anyhow.
You're quite right. We've got no choice but to make do on our own. We're in serious trouble, my friend. Do you know what this means for Halcyon? We can't rely on Earth for support anymore. We've been cut loose. We're entirely on our own.
We have a lot of work ahead of us. We best get started.
Yes, we do. You've done a marvelous thing. You've succeeded where anyone else would have failed, including me. We must begin the revival process immediately, starting with the Hope's brightest minds, and then we're going to fix this damn colony, one problem at a time. We're going to need a leader, and I can't imagine a better person for the job than you. What do you say, old friend? Will you help us?
You can count on me. I'll help to revive the other colonists. I'm going to do what I've always done. Whatever I want, all the time. Somebody has to run this colony. I'm the only one. I'm the only incompetent person left. This dude too.
I can't tell you how glad I am to hear that. When I revived you, I thought we were going to save this colony all by ourselves. But I was wrong. We can't save Halcyon on our own. We're all going to have to pull together, somehow. We are not a colony anymore. Our last connection to Earth has been severed. I don't know if we'll survive, but we're going to have to try our best.
The
OSI.
teaches
Oh, it's
that
not a
everything in the universe happens according to the grand plan. But the stranger that arrived in Halcyon was an unplanned variable. From the moment he landed in Emerald Vale, his actions altered the course of history. The events on Tartarus brought about the end of the board's authority. But the board's mistakes would haunt the colony for decades to come. The damage they left behind would require the work of a generation to repair. Dr. Phineas Wells began reviving a handful of the Hope's colonists. Engineers, scientists, technicians, and intellectuals. They were among the brightest minds the Earth had ever sent out into the stars. The Hope scientists and engineers woke up in a colony descending headlong into total collapse. With no way to return to Earth, they had no choice but to band together and devote themselves to the cause of saving Halcyon. The people of Halcyon were nothing if not hardy. In the absence of the board's authority, many of the colony's settlements banded together with a single purpose in mind: survival. Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attrition and starvation, but most of them found a way to carry on. In the years to come, Halcyon was forced to reckon with its newfound freedom. The board was gone, and for better or worse, the colony was responsible for its own destiny. As the colony struggled to survive, the inspirational story of the iconoclasts spread like wildfire, and Graham was able to bring many of the smaller Terra 2 townships into the fold. However, his zealous obsession with spreading the word blinded him to the needs of a growing organization, and the movement was unsustainable at scale. The iconoclast way seemed to work best, and ultimately petered out on Monarch. Bolstered by her status as savior of humanity, Lilia Hagen ushered Sublight Salvage to a new golden age. Her company grew bolder and more transparent over time, muddying the line between lawful and criminal for the entire colony. The Sublight family would thrive for years to come. The collapse of Edgewater left its workers bereft of any purpose in life. Most of them made their way to Adelaide McDevitt's camp, hoping to ingratiate themselves into her favor. Adelaide accepted only a few to her community. The rest were turned away and likely died of starvation.
Huh.
Nevertheless, Adelaide's camp grew into a well-established town. Adelaide McDevitt refused to cooperate with the ongoing effort to save Halcyon from collapse.
What?
A sympathetic deserter stole a copy of her research and delivered it to the Hope's scientists. It is unclear how useful Adelaide's research was. An optimistic estimate suggests her work may have bought Halcyon another few years of survival. Adelaide would never know. She died that winter. Junlei Tennyson fought to protect the Groundbreakers' independence. While the board's influence faded, mechanical difficulties forced her to rely on parts that only corporations could provide. The cost was high, and time would tell if Junlei could balance the work with her aspirations for a better future. The rediscovery of the Hope and the abandonment of the lifetime employment program forced Byzantium to come to terms with some uncomfortable realities about the state of Halcyon. While Byzantines were reluctant to surrender the luxuries they'd grown accustomed to, the board's diminished authority gave them little choice in the matter. Nearly everyone had to learn to make do with less. Some even had to get jobs. It was a dark time indeed. Your influence shifted Ellie's perspective. She finally admitted, albeit grudgingly, that she just might need other people. Sometimes. With a steady income from the life insurance payouts, she was finally able to afford a ship of her own. She hired a small crew and flew supply missions to communities on the fringe. Some of them were even legal. Life in Halcyon was sobering for Felix Millstone. The grand revolution he dreamed of never came. There was no great awakening for the colony, no celebrations in the streets. There was only the hard, desperate work of trying to repair a broken colony. Felix never had a head for numbers, but if there was labor to be done, he was there to help. Eventually, Felix realized that the work of a revolution was done with two hands. Nyoka returned to Monarch to take another crack at making a permanent life for herself. She formed the Charon Group, a mercenary outfit of ragtag survivalists and wilderness experts. Anyone in need of a guide or just looking to throw back a beer and swap stories could find her camping on the trail or clearing an infestation. The SAM unit that accompanied you spread awareness of the product line's superior sanitation and maintenance capabilities across what was left of the colony. This led to a boost in SAM unit sales. Did you know that SAM units are the longest-lasting, toughest-acting cleaning solution in Halcyon? Minister Clark was released from house arrest, and his contact with you gave him a sense of renewed purpose and vigor. Once it became clear that no help would be coming from Earth, he threw his considerable efforts and talents into helping Halcyon manage the crisis before it. As for Dr. Phineas Wells, he spent his remaining years in his orbital lab. Though he was always haunted by the failures of his past, he was determined to make things right by building toward the future. Dr. Wells was able to revive many more scientists and engineers than he first expected, thanks to the additional batch of chemicals you stole from the Ministry. Wells never forgot about the human lives that were lost in acquiring these chemicals. The revival project was hard and painful work, but in the end, despite limited resources, over half the Hope's colonists were successfully revived. Even after Wells passed away, the Hope scientists and engineers worked night and day to pull Halcyon from the brink of collapse. Their efforts continue to this day, which may be reason enough for optimism. Dr. Wells laid the groundwork for the project to save the colony, but he would never live to see the fruits of his labor. He passed away a few years later. His work was carried on by the scientists and engineers he revived. Life will never be the same in Halcyon. It is widely agreed that the colony has a chance of stabilizing within a generation, owing to the hard work and determination of the surviving colonists. Recovery is a distant goal, and the path is long and uncertain. But the people of Halcyon carry on, determined as ever. And what about you, the unplanned variable in the history of Halcyon? Long after Wells passed away, you carried on his work with more energy, determination, and brilliance than he could ever muster. The years that followed were hard, but Halcyon survived by the efforts of the Hope's most promising colonists, the greatest of which was you. No one knows what's happened to Earth, and no one knows what the future has in store for Halcyon. All we know for certain is this: the name of the Unreliable and that of its intrepid captain will remain the subject of countless stories for years to come.
Well, there's the end. So I finally made it to the end of it. I don't know why it kept popping up. The keyboard keys, but it did. But anyway, normally I do a review at the end of these, and as far as this game goes, review-wise, probably give it a, I don't know, a solid 7. It's basically Fallout, but in a different universe and timeline and everything, different story, blah blah blah. And I mean, it makes sense. It was done by the guys who did Fallout New Vegas. And the game, like I said, it's a blatant ripoff of Fallout, which is okay. It plays good. It's not buggy like Bethesda games. Usually the Fallout games are really buggy. They don't play very well. They just have all around general issues. This game, as far as I know, I didn't have any bugs. I don't remember any popping up. As far as the story goes, the story was pretty good. It was a little lacking. It didn't really hold my interest too much, especially like a lot of the side stuff, which is kind of like meh. As you see, I didn't even read like most of the lore in it, which is unusual for me. The game plays really well, though. I mean, as far as the type of game it is, it's a shooter with like bats, basically, without the targeting of body parts. And so it plays really good on that way. Graphics are really good in the game. There is a lot of dialogue, and it kind of can get bogged down. I think the story does, and there's some pretty stiff facial animations during those cutscenes where you're talking to people. But as far as that goes, I mean, everything's fairly well voice acted. They just could have done a little better job with the facial animations. The music was good. The sound effects were really good in the game. Every gun felt like it had, the correct sound. The leveling, I don't really like that you have to put points into the one like melee or whatever, and it'll boost both one-handed and single, or one-handed and dual weapons. I'd rather just pick one or the other and just level them up all individually, rather than having to spread out 10 points for the 3 skills. I could have had multiple skills maxed out at 100 if I didn't have to put, into all of them to get them up to 50 before I can start individually putting points into them. And the perks were fine. There was a lot of perks. I didn't take any of the phobias or anything like that, so I could have had a lot more perks in the game if I would have been willing to basically take more damage and die easier, but I feel like you die fairly easy in the game, and maybe that's due to me not upgrading my armor enough, and weapons. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on workbenches and stuff, but yeah, overall I would say, if you're a fan of Fallout and you're a fan of shooters, and especially if you have access to Xbox Game Pass, play the game, and you'll probably enjoy it. And that being said, I mean, that's it. So, like I said, let's give it a 7 out of 10. And I'm going to go ahead and just be quiet now and let the credits play out to see if there's anything that shows up at the end of it. Alright guys, so that was it. That was the Outer Worlds. I just went ahead and skipped it. Usually you can skip the cutscenes or the credits, but anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you liked this series, and we'll be doing Greedfall and Death Stranding coming up, and I'm probably take a look at some older games. I won't be able to get any of the new games coming out, unfortunately. So I won't be able to do Kakarot until later, and so we'll probably do Sinua's Sacrifice maybe. But anyway guys, like I said, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Hit the like button if you like this video. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.